Hello everybody, welcome back to another video, which happens to be another weather update, because we got a lot going on right now in the atmosphere today, ranging from blizzard-like conditions to severe and tornadic weather. So to start off, we're going to discuss what's going on with the winter weather portion of this system, which brings us to the Wichita, Kansas area, where widespread showers and thunderstorms are developing just southeast of the area, here in across northwestern Arkansas. We actually see, this is actually a couple hours ago right now is what we're looking at. We see this freezing line, where this mixed precipitation was actually set up. It was settled right in this area, dividing southeastern Kansas. And the temperature quickly dropped just below freezing, just after the initial wave of precipitation. But we did actually have a mixed wave of precipitation at first, before the gradual transition to snow, which is what you're actually looking at right now. 1 to 2/10 of an inch of ice accumulation has already been seen in the Wichita area, which actually just spread southeastward as temperatures fell below freezing across southeastern Kansas. However, at this point, while cities like Eureka and Chanute, those areas around Kansas, those cities are just now seeing snow. While there is still a mix of rain southeast of these areas. And as you can see here, the models actually indicate that the most favorable period for heavy snow is in the 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. window, when strong lifts will actually be in place. There's also some high probabilities for 1 to 2 inch per hour snowfall rates along the I-35 corridor within this deterioration zone, where we can see persistent heavy snowfall remaining through the morning hours. And there actually does seem to be a decent potential to pick up a good 4 to 7 inches of snow during the 5 a.m. to 2 p.m. window, although locally higher amounts could actually materialize if we continue to see some convective activity here. This forecast will actually continue to trend snowfall amounts upward, really along this I-35 corridor, which also goes through western Missouri as well, which we're going to see even more snow take place. You see it getting here up to 4 to 7, maybe even 8 inches. Now, north winds of 25 to 35 knots will actually create blowing and drifting snow, with visibilities reduced to, I'd say, half a mile or less at times. This snow should really diminish from west to east, though, as time moves on. The snow will finally begin to move out of the area. If we actually look back to the GFS model here, we can actually see that while snow is actually affecting cities like Wichita, Kansas, as we move on to like the current time, we see some more light showers moving through rather than the heavy snow and mixed precipitation that was occurring this morning. While snow is affecting cities like Wichita, we also have severe weather take place just, I'd say, 400 miles southeast, affecting cities like Little Rock, Arkansas. While there were spotty showers and thunderstorms here in Arkansas earlier this morning, more widespread thunderstorms have actually moved in from Oklahoma and Texas. Now, this same system will actually drag a cold front into the state, with rain in place through the west, overspreading the region. If we just look at the radar here, we can see that models continue to show a ton of shear this morning, with anywhere from 60 to up to 100 knots here. And these storms that do develop will move very quickly and do have the potential to rotate. Yes, you heard that correctly, rotate. So in other words, just tornadic activity. At the same time, the instability isn't really looking very strong in this area throughout Arkansas and Missouri. Still well below 100, so very weak here. And not only this, but the timing of this event, as you can see, it will really be throughout the morning hours and really displaced from the usual action of the afternoon, evening scenario where we get more of that daytime heating. So I say, long story short, while we do have that wind shear in place, this system still lacks instability and daytime heating. So while there could be some quite severe storms this morning, they're really expected to be more scattered in this area as we move into the afternoon hours. Any storm that really reaches severe criteria will actually be capable of producing strong and damaging winds, hail, and possibly a tornado. So although the weather won't be as severe in this area, it's still definitely possible we could see severe criteria, which does include tornadic activity. Now, this is actually a different story as we've moved further east. Quite some time for this heating during the morning hours, as we see some of those higher temperatures begin to take place due to the moisture rushing in from the Gulf, because we're actually going to move, I meant to say southeast, that's when we're going to see most of the severe weather. As we move southeast, we're going to see more of the severe weather take place, because once we actually see this convection, we go ahead and take another look, just a little further southeast, say getting into Mississippi, Alabama, even into closer into Louisiana, we could see the joules per kilogram in terms of Cape values, surface Cape values. We could see them getting closer to 500. This is definitely going to be favorable for more severe activity and cause storms to worsen. Damaging winds and tornadoes will be far more likely from, I'd say, western Tennessee even, because you see some more of that convection there getting closer to 100. And most likely into Mississippi and Alabama, like I said, getting closer to 500 joules per kilogram. Now, just for fun, I kind of want to go back to Missouri here and talk about what we're going to be seeing. I mean, look, you can just see this mess, what's going on here in the state of Missouri. I guess you could say we're going to see the best of both worlds. Well, maybe not the best, but we'll definitely experience both winter weather and severe weather in different portions of the state. So, in southern Missouri, we already see that widespread moderate to heavy rainfall along really south of the I-44 corridor is actually where is actually just south of a strong cold front is pushing through. You can see it's literally visible here on the Doppler radar. You can see this where the snow is in place in northwestern Missouri. This is after the snow front. After it already passed, you can see the rain here, the severe weather, right along this low pressure system, is right where the front is actually placed. So it's just now moving through the state. This is actually current time. Now, as you can see here, temperatures to the north of the front were already dropping quickly. I mean, they really just dropped very rapidly here into the mid to upper 30s, even getting into the upper 20s as well. If we even just backtrack here, what we saw in Wichita this morning is really just an icy mess. If we just backtrack a little bit, we can see it's just there, right there, moving through Wichita, and we could definitely see the same story take place here in Missouri, where we're just going to see a lot of icy conditions. As you see, this front's just going to continue to push through and just plummet temperatures into the 20s, right after being in the 40s. You see here, northeastern Oklahoma, we're seeing 60 degrees. Fast forward a few hours, and then we're at 30, in really upper 20s in just a matter of a couple hours. So temperatures is definitely going to drop very quickly. Let's look back to the GFS model here. We can definitely see that this wintry precipitation mostly moved east, but also is really southeastward into mid-Missouri, central Missouri here, and especially southwestern Missouri. See, Wichita is right here in this region. It just continues to move southeast here. Now, as far as ice accumulations, they can definitely develop possibly around 1 to 2 tenths of an inch, where storms could move over sub-freezing surface temperatures. Otherwise, wintry precipitation will transition to snow through the day as temperatures continue to fall as the front pushes on through. These temperatures, like as you saw, drop into the lower 30s and upper 20s. From really moving from northwest to northeast, northwest to southeast, which is the direction that the front's moving. And it's still looking like we see these higher accumulations taking place over the northern edge of the forecast area, where the winter storm warnings are issued in these northern counties of Missouri. But aside from this, there will still be a brief window of severe storm potential, mainly this morning along the central Missouri-Arkansas border. So really just southeastern Missouri. This is where that severe weather is going to be taking place. And if we just go a couple hundred miles northwest, we could see a lot of snow, up to 7 to 8 inches of snow taking place here. So really just a crazy dynamic setup we have taking place today. And of course, this is also where that vertical wind shear and still some quite low instability. So like I said, we're not going to see as much severe weather taking place as we'll hear between Mississippi and Alabama, especially southern Tennessee as well, even central Tennessee. This is where that main setup's going to be. I'll actually go over the Storm Prediction Center risk here in a minute. So while in southeastern Missouri, severe thunderstorms are possible, whereas the combination of heavy snowfall rates around definitely, I'd say, an inch per hour, maybe even higher, maybe an inch or two per hour. Winds gusting to around 40 miles per hour, and as well as poor visibility will result in really near blizzard-like conditions for a good portion of the I-35 corridor, mainly in northwestern Missouri, even central Missouri as well. But I definitely would expect the heavy snow band with amounts potentially up to 6 plus inches, over 6 inches. General amounts to really 5 to 7 here in this swath of snow you're seeing. Really 5 inches and above throughout this swath here. It's moving through central to northeastern Missouri. So it's definitely important to keep in mind from this that amounts could definitely be locally higher within these convective bands of snow. But this winter precipitation should really come to an end, I'd say, by late afternoon as the upper trough actually moves through. As you can see here, it's actually in place. So again, as we just see from this radar here, over the next few hours, we'll see the system flow further into the upper south here over the next couple of hours. This is when things really begin to materialize, which really brings us, I'd say, the Memphis, Nashville, Tennessee area. It's what I'd like to go. That's what I wanted to talk about first, because it's still getting wrapped into the severe weather outlook here, where we do have that same threat for severe weather as this cold front moves through. The threat remains really dependent on how unstable the atmosphere becomes this afternoon. Currently, gusty southerly winds are occurring across the mid-south ahead of this low-pressure system. If we actually just fast forward here in the wind speeds, as you can see, they begin to increase as well as they move through this portion of the upper south here throughout Tennessee and Kentucky. The winds will definitely increase across the forecast area from mid-morning, especially in the afternoon, as this low in front approaches. Sustained wind speeds of 20 to 25 miles per hour, I definitely say, are possible, with this gust as high as maybe even 45 to 50. As this really begins to move through, and we get almost caught in this gradient here as it begins to move through. And this could definitely bring down trees and power lines. I'd say this is definitely possible. And then again, we have to keep in mind that these southerly winds will continue to bring in an increase of moisture all throughout the deep south as well as the mid-south here, all throughout Alabama, Tennessee, Mississippi. Look here at the current dew points. We could actually see that we already have dew points into the 60s here across Mississippi. Now, if we just fast forward a little bit here again, we could actually see that these higher dew points will actually continue to spread into the region this morning. In western Tennessee, we're seeing dew points into the 60s as well. Whereas a couple hours ago, we rewind a little bit, we see them into the really getting into the 50s. So dew points will definitely be spreading, which in other words, when I say dew points, I mean a lot of moisture is going to be pushing in from the Gulf. You can see almost really just moving northeast here and wrapping around. So we're gonna have that southerly wind flow just pushing all the moisture in from the Gulf. And as expected, you can already see right now just from the radar, if we actually just rewind a little bit to current time, we already see that as expected, a few thunderstorms are already beginning to develop across Arkansas. And this initial round of activity will likely expand in the area and of course spread the northeastward all throughout the eastern Arkansas and getting into the mid-south, especially western Tennessee. At first, we're going to see the most of the severe weather activity because some things really begin to develop, and we're going to have that tight pressure gradient. Now, of course, we have to remember hail will definitely be possible with these severe storms, and believe it or not, how this initial round of thunderstorms impacts on the atmosphere will actually determine how great of a threat for the severe storms will occur this afternoon. So it is a little tricky predicting how much severe weather we're actually going to see today. And as this energy or the instability we're actually that's in place right now can actually move out quickly enough, this means we might get a break from the storms. Maybe some sunshine might peek through the clouds, making the atmosphere more unstable, which actually ups the chance for more severe storms to move through. Where we see that these values continue to be able to reach the close to 100, possibly reaching 100, especially as we get into Mississippi here, really along that northeastern Mississippi into just south central Tennessee. Even if as we move a little further west, we can see it begin to drop even below 20. But as we move into right here, south central Tennessee, we can see it closer to 100, closer to 150 maybe. So this is definitely the zone we have to watch out for as far as severe and tornadic activity. So really that 100 to 150 range here as storms will be moving through into the area. And even if we actually just rewind a little bit to current time, right now we're actually seeing these storms move through Arkansas and into Tennessee, especially southwestern Tennessee. So I was talking about earlier how I believe western Tennessee can see most of the severe activity, as you can see, because the amount of K values here are even higher, getting up to 200, even closer to 300 joules per kilogram here in that range. You can see 200 right here in southwestern Tennessee. But of course, we're going to have that wind shear move through, so it's definitely possible we could see just really severe tornadic weather all throughout the state of Tennessee here. Overall, some severe storms producing damaging winds and or tornadoes is definitely possible throughout this area. I've only mentioned southeastern Missouri, northeastern Arkansas, and of course all throughout Tennessee. This isn't even where the main risk of severe weather is, especially the tornadic weather. We're actually going to move further south here into the Mississippi and Alabama region. Basically, what we have happening is that this trough that was in place is actually that really brought cooler temps. If we actually rewind here, we can see into the 50s, lower 50s, maybe even getting up to into the upper 40s here throughout eastern Tennessee. As this trough, like this dip in the atmosphere, as it just moves through, as it moves eastward and moves out of the area, we can see a lot of these warmer temperatures just infiltrating the entire region here, and which is bringing highs across states like Alabama, mid to upper 70s, possibly even reaching 80 degrees in some local areas. You can see 79 degrees there, almost reaching 80. This, in addition to that humid, moist atmosphere, can definitely be favorable for some severe weather later today. And of course, moving to Mississippi as well, seeing temperatures more into the low to mid 70s. I think actually fast forward a little bit further into this afternoon, really, not so much in the morning hours, now shifting from noon. Now, as you can see, this line of showers and thunderstorms should really begin to work into the western portion of, let's say, Mississippi. Even Mississippi, they work into the west portion of Mississippi over the next couple hours here. Just as we get further into the afternoon, that's when we'll see more of this severe weather and tornadic weather take place as just hours go on. And of course, it'll also slide further east into the later afternoon hours. That's when we begin to see it move through Alabama. And of course, into the evening hours as well. So no doubt that there is a severe chance with this line, as there will be plenty of wind aloft to tap into. I said we saw that very strong wind shear. And again, I cannot stress this enough. The primary threats will be damaging winds up to 70 miles per hour, especially as we get those supercells move through. There's those localized gusts. And of course, we have that chance for tornadoes as well. And very large hail. Can't forget about that either. And really, especially for locations maybe west of I-65 corridor. Now, the biggest thing that could really disable this threat is if the shear is actually too high, and it actually prevents the storms from really developing even further, because once this wind shear aloft gets stronger, it almost like breaks up the clouds and almost tears the storms apart from developing too much. Now, if we actually fast forward further here, this is like around 3 a.m. The early wee morning hours at this point. So really by 3 a.m. most of these storms should be done for today, finally moving out of the region. Maybe some lingering showers on the backside here throughout Georgia and Alabama, but most of the severe weather should have moved on by this point. Now, the last thing I want to cover for the severe weather is the Storm Prediction Center outlook risks. As you can see here, the areas I mentioned: western Tennessee, even portions of eastern Arkansas, central northern Mississippi, as well as northwestern Alabama. This whole area really included in this, what would actually be called an enhanced risk. Now, what we can actually see from this enhanced risk through these areas are just numerous severe thunderstorms, like consistent throughout this area. There's this darker orange here. This can be in more persistent, widespread, very, very intense thunderstorms, which can definitely bring a few tornadoes. Isolated tornadoes can be possible, as well as several reports of wind damage and damaging hail up to 1 to 2 inches in diameter. So very, very large hail as well. And of course, we have that slight risk. Even cutting off some portions of southern Mississippi, even some portions of northeastern Louisiana, getting more into east central Arkansas, kind of in the boot heel here of Missouri. Even the enhanced risk actually is included in that boot heel. Southern, very I guess tip of southern Kentucky, and of course most of the state of Tennessee is included in the slight risk, except very far eastern Tennessee. This is when we're going to see that severe activity kind of die down more and kind of transition to just heavy rain, moderate to heavy rain showers throughout the states of like Virginia, western North Carolina. Still some thunderstorms popping up, but not nearly as severe as we're going to see in this risk in this whole area. So that's when we're going to see the most severe activity. Just wanted to point that out, and just it's really a good visual representation of where we're going to see most of the severe weather taking place. So what do we know overall about this severe weather? Well, we know that a strong cold front is currently northwest to the forecast area right now. Right now it's currently in... We're still seeing some of this mixed. I'm actually going to get into the snow next, but right now we're seeing most of the severe weather. Most of these storms are beginning to develop right now across west central Arkansas, southeastern Missouri. It's where we're going to see some of this severe weather taking place right now, actually. Maybe even get a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings, maybe even some tornado watches at this point. And so we have this cold front that's currently northwest of the where the most severe weather is going to be. So we still have some time to prepare in this area. And again, the severe weather is going to drop down into the Mississippi River Valley towards noon. And then once we get to the afternoon hours, this is we're going to see most of the tornadic and severe weather activity take place. Really the afternoon hours. And any stronger supercells along the front. We can even see some in here in Kentucky and Tennessee as well. We do have a conditional risk of damaging winds and a possible isolated tornado for even Kentucky and Tennessee. It's not out of the question here either. Mainly south and west of the Knoxville area in Tennessee. As this cooler, drier air arrives behind the cold front late tonight. So once the front moves through and we get into the overnight hours, you can see those overnight lows dropping possibly even below freezing. May even see some possible light snow showers and some ice accumulation across the higher elevations of the mountains here, the Smoky Mountains rather, in Tennessee. Now the key here is that the severe weather threat is really conditional and limited because of the forecast, the low energy we have, the low instability here. Although, as you saw, it may get up to 200 here. That's like very southwestern Tennessee. As far as central Tennessee, we may not even reach 100. So it's still going to be relatively low for the most part. So we may not see as much severe weather as we're going to see, of course, in this area. So overall, I just went over right now. What I just went over for the past 10 minutes or so is just the severe portion of this dynamic system. Of course, that's not all we're going to be seeing today. Earlier, I actually briefly touched on the topic of snow, which is what we saw here in Wichita, Kansas, that mixed precipitation. That freezing rain is taking place, a lot of ice accumulations, but now I'm going to get into the snow. I'm going to go more into detail about that now, which actually brings us back to Missouri, specifically the St. Louis, Missouri area right around here. Now, before I cover the main impacts of this winter storm, I'd like to go over the current agreement in the different models. Now, put shortly, look, it appears that right now, in this area, they're all in relatively good agreement here. As far as the mixed precipitation, that freezing, like you can see here, this is the Euro model. It really accurately shows us what happened in Wichita this morning. That freezing rain and icy mess right there. But for the most part, we could see that that freezing, where the front's moving through right there. We can see the rain across southern Missouri, and then we see some of the more snow in northwestern Missouri. And you see the GFS also where it has the same exact setup here. Maybe not as much rain here and throughout Missouri. The Euro is actually calling for less rain here in southwestern Missouri, but it might just be a flaw on the radar. And here's an AM model. We can see, again, much of the same. Again, not really showing too much rain here in southwestern Missouri, which actually, if anything, we're going to see more mixed precipitation in southwestern Missouri. Of course, you have that relatively severe weather here, southeastern, and then we go to northeastern quadrant, see some more of that snow. So we're all in pretty good agreement here. Here's actually the high rapid refresh radar. You can see again, maybe some more rain showing up here in southwestern Missouri, but again, Missouri is just a state where we're going to see two completely different weather events here between the severe and winter. And as far as the snowfall, the tracks also really seem to be in good agreement here. You can see the heaviest snow, like the bulk of the snow occurring, maybe really getting into northeastern Missouri as well. You can see some more of that heavier snow. Possibly snowfall rates around an inch per hour. They definitely remain possible. Especially north of the I-70 corridor, stretching from Columbia, Missouri, all the way to maybe Pittsfield, Illinois. If we actually move further south here throughout central Missouri, again, that same freezing line, I guess I could call it, where the mixed precipitation is taking place, just moves northeast along with the system into Illinois. We see that same freezing rain taking place because that's exactly where the front's going to be set up. So again, we see that rain, really almost the same setup in Missouri, although it's not going to be as much mixed precipitation. Northwestern, really just north central as well, Illinois, we see all that snow taking place. And we go to southern Illinois, like what we saw in southern Missouri, we're going to see more of that rain and severe weather taking place. Once we get into this point, it's not going to be as severe. It's going to be more so just scattered, more widespread showers, maybe some thunderstorms. But yeah, further south, as we move further south through the state here, we're going to see more of that sleet and icing. Really remains the primary concern for this area, especially for the afternoon hours and evening commute. A changeover to all snow really occur, I'd say, by this evening, because if we actually fast forward here, we can see that we're going to see more snow take place rather than rain. So it's definitely going to flow southwards as that front moves through. We're going to see more of the snow become like the dominant precipitation. Now, as far as precipitation totals here, snow and sleet as well as ice totals are really close to the same. If we actually go to the total accumulated snowfall here on the this is actually the GFS here, we can actually see brings us to central Illinois, the same swath that actually moved throughout central Missouri. We definitely see a swath of at least 6 inches, maybe even anywhere from 6 to 9 inches here. So a lot of snow, maybe I'd say even localized. We can see more that convective banding take place, maybe even up to 10 inches. Maybe more of a rare event to see 10 inches, but it could definitely be possible here, I believe. But for the most part, general 6 to 8 inches, maybe even getting up to 9 to 10 inches here in central Illinois. But it definitely appears likely from, like I said, Columbia to maybe Columbia all the way in Missouri. We can even see 6 to 7 inches all the way to Pittsfield, Illinois. So we're going to see most of that snow take place. And of course, further south, I'd say it's definitely even possible to see half an inch of sleet. That's definitely going to be the main concern here. There's icy road conditions. Maybe even getting 1/15 of an inch of sleet as well. Now, additional rainfall amounts, I'd say it can be up to 1 to 2 inches can be expected here in southeastern Missouri, as well as southwestern Illinois. But further north, because of course we're going to see there's rain totals that'll be notably lower, or some of those totals are more of a wintry precipitation here. That mix of precipitation really around this area, maybe getting an inch or two of snow, but for the most part we're going to see sleet and freezing rain. But you can even see here in the GFS, we're not really going to see, it's kind of just going to go from 1 inch, and if we just move slightly northwest, we're going to see 8 inches. So that's so you can see it's kind of tricky to forecast here. This doesn't appear to be very accurate, but of course we're going to see that freezing rain here, and then we're going to have that transition to snow. So basically this freezing line is going to be set up right here in this area. Mixed in with that freezing rain, of course we can maybe see an inch drop. Maybe you can see an inch accumulation, but right on the other side of that freezing line is really just going to be remaining, just sitting over this region. As we move a little further north, we're going to see that snow, and we're going to see up to 8 to 9 inches. That's what this model is telling us here. It's just going to be such a crazy, there's a crazy drop off here, crazy conflicting system we have here between freezing rain and then snow. So that's how you know we have freezing rain right there on the radar. But yeah, definitely see some of those higher embedded snow amounts here within the swath, up to 9 to 10 inches possibly. We're now going to move even further north to say maybe even Chicago, Illinois here. We could see a good couple inches of snow, maybe even 2 to 5 inches of snow will be possible here in, say, Chicago, Illinois. Another city that will really just be affected by this dangerous winter storm with near blizzard conditions. There will actually be a period of impactful accumulating snow, say northeastern Chicago, and we're still likely to experience a very dangerous, quick hitting, very high impact snowstorm. It'll be very fast moving snowstorm, but you could still accumulate up to 5 to 6 inches in this area, especially this afternoon into the early evening hours, where this banding of snow is likely to develop from eastern Kansas and central Missouri, which is what we're already seeing right now. It's already beginning to develop, and it's expected to move further northeast and just really bring again, that swath, it's very fast moving. It's very even hard to see on the radar here. You can make it out right there, that darker blue banding, that right there, right here, just above that. That's what we saw on the GFS snow accumulation. Here we have that freezing rain. We're not going to get much snow accumulation because there's too much rain mixed in there, so maybe an inch or two of snow. We move just a little further north, you can see that dark blue, which is where we're going to see that very heavy banding, which can give us up to, I'd say, 8 to 9 inches. Although a more general 5 to 7 inches, but we could still get up to possibly 10 inches. So basically what we're going to see here is this heavy banding move on through. And it's just going to continue to move here as we're seeing it develop here throughout northwestern Missouri. It's gonna quickly move into Illinois and get into the Chicago area eventually and get closer to the the Great Lakes region. We're actually even eventually going to see it move into northern Indiana as well. If we actually look here back to the totals, we're going to see quite good accumulation here in northern Indiana as well. Cannot forget this either. Again, we can even see 6 to 7 inches. Again, the same swath of snow is going to be moving through here. Or this heavy banding is going to be taking place. 6-7 inches here in northern Indiana as well. That's really just going to be with same heavy snow is going to be moving through this. Really, just afternoon is going to be the time frame here from north central Illinois, eventually going to be expanding into southern Illinois. Once that freezing rain moves southeast, it pushes out. Once the front moves through, once the front's done, snow is going to take place in this area. That's when we get that inch of snow. But most of the snow by this point, once it expands, we're going to see heavier snow is already going to be out of here. It's going to be in Indiana, even northwestern Ohio at this point. But most guidance depicts strong, consistent snowfall. Hourly snowfall rates, I'd say, still maybe below an inch per hour in the Indiana region, and even the Chicago region as well. Throughout this whole region, like as we closer to the Great Lakes, we may not see 1 to 2 inches per hour, maybe an inch per hour, but we're only looking up to like 30% chance of snowfall rates exceeding 2 inches per hour. Snowfall totals still look like, as you saw, 6 to 10 inches. Look likely over central Illinois and of course into east. And of course, as it moves east into northwestern Indiana, and of course with the tightening pressure gradient here in the low pressure system, we're going to see it's going to be a very rapid moving snowstorm. So a lot of rapid movement with the system. Likely produce a period of very strong winds this afternoon. Gusts up to 30 to 40 miles per hour could accompany the very heavy snowfall, resulting in near blizzard conditions. That a primary focus for today in Indiana, especially for central Indiana, as we saw in Illinois, whereas the timing of the transition of the precipitation from rain to snow and that freezing line again as the front progresses through the area. As you can see, that all these models really indicate a rapid changeover from freezing rain to sleet, and then to snow to begin in our northwest no later than midday, if not late morning. Really just proceeding to the southeast through the afternoon into early evening. With all these areas still likely to experience some snow around the mid-evening hours. Now again, amounts in the northern and northwestern portions of the state of these counties have now appeared to likely push up to 6 inches of snow with some light ice and sleet as well, I'm sure. Wind gusts possibly getting up to 30 to 35 miles per hour as well. It's definitely possible as the low pressure system moves through. We could see 30 to 30, maybe even 25 to 30 miles per hour, but as far as gusts, I'd say up to 35. That should be really common during this time frame here during the afternoon hours. Really around the same time we're going to see that severe weather and tornadic activity take place. So really just a complicated system we're looking at here. Anyway guys, that's what we're really looking at as far as the snow portion of the storm. So really just a very dynamic, just completely really just diverse system we're looking at here between the rain and severe weather, possibly even its mini tornado outbreak today, in addition to a very fast moving and widespread snowstorm. With very high winds, blizzard-like conditions as well, giving us up to 10 inches of snow. So 10 inches of snow here, tornadoes can be possible here. Crazy system we're looking at today. Hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy it, please give it a like. If you do enjoy seeing the weather updates and the weather content I have here on the channel, maybe even consider subscribing as well. I hope you all guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.